Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Brenden Allen submits Paul Craig, third round victory, and all in Brenden Allen is going to show he's coming for everybody's neck in the middleweight division. Not just that, Amanda Ribas, she stole the show, come from behind victory. A lot of action popped off, folks, at UFC Vegas 82. While the strip was occupied with Formula One racing and all that good stuff, some real action was going down at the Apex. Folks, welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. My name is Derick G, and joining me, as always, the Santa Fe bomber himself, the New Mexico native, AJ. Brenden all in. He is all in, man. He's ready to go. He's coming for everybody's neck in the middleweight division. How impressed were you with this victory over Paul Craig? Submission, brother. Beautiful to see.
Man, massively impressed, Derick. I think he should change his name from All In to All Advance, man. This dude continues to be growing in his fight game, man. Literally, fight after fight, he's getting better. And to show that he doesn't give two anythings about jumping into Paul Craig's guard, man, so massive skill improvement and also character from Brenden Allen. This was a fun fight weekend, man. Not just the main card, man, the Ribas. We had some new people showing up. This was a very entertaining card, folks. I hope you tuned in. Derick, how'd you like it?
I thought that this was a sleeper card, bro. This is one of those that impress you before we go away for a week for the holidays, right? It's coming off of a pay-per-view. Brenden Allen, Paul Craig at middleweight. What is there to see? And there was a lot of action to see. So we're going to break it all down, folks. But before we do that, take a quick look at the bottom of the screen. Quick update. We only got a couple of events left. AJ is still in the lead, 125, 75, and 3. I'm right behind him, 121, 79, and 3, AJ. So I have not conceded. This title is still on the line, and I did get the victory this week. So let's just do a quick breakdown of the prop recaps, the money line recaps, and see all the value, all the money that we brought you this week, folks. So really quickly, look at all that gold. You love to see that always. But AJ, let's kind of give a little bit of transparency. We didn't have a preview show this week. Apologies, folks. I got roughed up in jiu-jitsu a little bit. I had to, you know what I mean, get everything reacquainted to hop back on camera. However, we did post our picks in advance, same schedule as always, and we did have some Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks, in which, AJ, we went 3-1, my friend. So, had some big hits, had one big miss. Jordan Leavitt, that was our big Bloody Water Podcast consensus miss. It wasn't long enough for us to have regrets because it really was not an MMA fight. That was a glorified jiu-jitsu match that we watched. Do you feel bad about the pick, or do you think that in a 10-fight span was still the right way to go? What do you think?
I think it's more of the latter right there, Derick. In a 10-fight span, I say that now, and then a thought just hit my head where Chase Hooper looks like he's evolving in that same kind of path, so maybe we might see a little bit different. I'm still sticking to my original answer, though. I think it's a lot closer in a 10-fight span, but Chase Hooper looked damn good. You can't take anything away from the kid.
He sure did, and that's why I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, was this just a bad beat? You know, did we have a bad read on the fight, or things happen? You get choked out, scrambles. I don't know. Lots to dissect there. But bringing it back one more time, the big thing to note right here, man, is that we got gold on Brenden Allen, Michael Morales, Peyton Talbott. Those were the Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks, so we got you covered, folks. But more important, AJ, I told you before, I told everybody before, we think we know this. This is an accountability program right here. So what that means is that we hold ourselves accountable through and through, wins and losses, props, folks. We got a victory again for the Bloody Water Podcast, so 1-1 on the week for about the third week in a row. But AJ, now we're counting tallies right here. So wins and losses, I got us 3 weeks in a row, brother. I'm going to need you to hit us with one of these. You came close, though. Honestly, Michael Morales, he had his foot on the gas. Jake Matthews is a tough SOB right there, man. Tough guy to get out of there. What are we going to do to get back on track with the props, AJ?
Man, I was actually thinking about this on my drive back home over here to record this show, Derick. I think we got to take a little bit, or at least myself, I got to hold myself a little bit accountable right here and take a little bit different of an outlook on the actual props. And maybe dig in a little bit deeper onto, maybe some niche ones that we're going to see, because a lot of the times the TKOs, the submissions, the decisions, we think they're going to play out a certain way, and it ends up that goes the exact opposite. So I think I might need to do a little bit deeper of a dive into those prop bets. We'll see next week, folks, or week after next, folks. See if you tune in. That gets something right for you.
Yeah, and we got you guys covered. So over round. So this week for me, I did over 2.5 rounds, right? That's not your traditional prop, but it's a prop nonetheless. So get the value, cash it in. That's what we're here for, Bloody Water Podcast. But with that being said, folks, if you have not subscribed at this portion of the program, I'm going to urge you, suggest you definitely do subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend, because this is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show after all. AJ might have a little bit of a harsher approach to the program, but at the end of the day, we got to get him signed up somehow. AJ, talk to the people.
Derek might be suggesting it, folks. I'm urging, I'm telling you, you need to hit that button, because when you go look at our actual numbers, man, 121 and 124, I forget the losses we had, but either way, we're making money for you consistently, whether you're picking Derek's picks or my picks. You're rolling with the Bloody Water Podcast, and that's all that matters, and we're making you money consistently. So make sure you're being a good friend. Go put some money in your friend's pocket, so that way all the rising tides can lift everyone's boat. But you got to know where you found them first, and it's right here on the Bloody Waters. We're rising the tide with y'all, folks. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and share it with your friends.
With that being said, let's just jump straight into the fight recap. Let's get it.
Have you seen that replay, buddy? Your head was bouncing around like a pinball machine.
Time for some main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, AJ. So we had an action-packed main card, and we got to start nowhere else than the main event. Let's talk about it. Brenden Allen versus Paul Craig. Submission, round 3. Not exactly what I anticipated, because I would think that if there is one place you don't want to fight Paul Craig, it's probably going to be in his guard. But that's the beauty of a Brenden Allen, is that when you have such a versatile skill set, you could say, I'll fight you wherever you want to take the fight. If it's standing, you don't want to be there with me. You want me to jump into the guard? Not a sweat. But AJ, there was a little bit of sweat. That calf slicer Paul Craig had was close for a second. And if there wasn't as much experience and poise by Brenden Allen, I think that we could have saw a little bit of a different outcome. Nonetheless, it was beautiful. What'd you take of the performance?
Man, I want to touch on that calf slicer for a second, because for a jiu-jitsu novice as myself, man, I was curious why Brenden Allen gave up such a deep choke. Next thing you know, you see his foot going the exact opposite direction, slicing that calf. It was very impressive. And what I liked most about the Brenden Allen performance, and even on Paul Craig's side, man, he showed growth as well. But Brenden Allen showing that he doesn't care where the fights take place. Yeah, you don't want to stand up with me. You think I don't want to go to the ground with you. You have a different outcome happening, especially once I'm landing some slicing elbows down on top of you. This was a big win for Brenden Allen, specifically for growth factor, man. He is somebody that a lot of people knew about, heard about, weren't really necessarily scared about, but now he's got everybody in the back on notice, putting him on check, because Brenden Allen's here for a long time and still very young, still growing, looks very impressive. What do you take away from the fight, Derek?
Yeah, no, it's just every single victory, or every single fight really, from the last time that we've seen him lose has been an upper echelon, I guess you could say, just an increase in improvements right there. So at this point, it's just going to show that he seems like one of the more dangerous contenders in this division. And it sounds like it when you call out the top dogs, when you call out even the Khamzat Chimaevs and say, what's up, dude? I'm ready to get after this. We need to see what it's going to be like for him to fight maybe a top 5, top 4 type guy. He's saying title eliminator. He's saying, give me the guys at the straight at the top. But realistically, man, the guy that reigns over this division now is none other than who?
Oh, man. What are they, 185?
185 pounds, brother. Who's the champion
pound,
right
man,
here,
isn't
man?
it? Man, they just Piera. I had to blank for a second, right?
He's light heavyweight now. Yep, he's light heavyweight now.
Man, I'm blanking over here, Derek.
Sean Strickland, brother. Sean Strickland, the guy that knocked him out already, man. That's the point that we're making here. So the champion is the guy that already has a victory over you, and Brenden Allen says, that's the fight that I want. He's actually been calling for that fight for some time. So it does make you really feel that, I mean, they get that rematch. This is like the most winnable title window that Brenden Allen has at the moment right now. Would you agree?
Man, especially because I just looked at it. They fought back in 2020 as well. Yeah, it was a knockout round 2. But from then, that's exactly what we're talking about, man. He's been fighting guys with knockout power going forward, growing and gaining a little bit more reputation and being able to handle himself in there. That's a very interesting fight, because if he is able to avoid the striking of Sean Strickland and get this fight to the ground, he's going to fare well. But I'm pretty sure we probably said that last time they were fighting as well. So who knows how it would go. Have the hand skills improved Brenden Allen enough? Man, maybe.
You got to think too, though, when he took that fight, he took it on short notice, right? So if we really, let's just kind of like take a look at the saga of a Brenden Allen, right? So yeah, since that last loss, or I guess the last loss was Chris Curtis, right? That was also another short notice bout. So it's 2 short notice bouts that he lost. Sean Strickland, before, yeah, he was supposed to fight Ian Heinisch, right? 7 days later, he fights Sean Strickland. So that's kind of one of the issues that you have right there. But yeah, it's an impressive resume when you look at it through and through, man. Heel hooks, decisions, knockouts, rear naked chokes, lots of rear naked chokes, actually. If you look at the last, 5, 6 victories, damn near somewhere around there. So I think this is a very impressive run for Brenden Allen right now. And I think that the more important thing that we need to note here is that there's nobody in this division that has his skill set aside really from a Khamzat Chimaev at this point, right? Is there anybody else that you can name?
Ooh, besides a Khamzat Chimaev, man. That's the one. That's the big scary man that comes to the name, right? That's the big scary name, I guess, that comes to mind is how I should have phrased it. Other than that, nothing really pokes out. I mean, there's the weird part about this middleweight division, man, just looking at it, right? There's a lot of people who for a long time have been clamoring that they're the top dog, right? You know, the Robert Whittaker's obviously the top dog, but Dricus du Plessis, Jared Cannonier, Marvin Vettori, all these people now that the opening has, presented itself for the championship, they're all saying they're the top dog. But one of the ones besides a Khamzat Chimaev or Brenden Allen that can really get things going, that's going to have the hardest impact, I feel like, on everybody's performance. To me, this might sound crazy, man. Paulo Costa. I think he has a lot of those things that are untangible. If he's able to get to the weight class and have himself, be a solid performer, but he has all the skills. Other than that, DDP, I don't know. What do you think, Derek? Who's one that comes to mind?
I don't really see anybody besides Dricus du Plessis and Roman Dolidze that can really be as formidable as a Brenden Allen. But that goes to show, man, you're in a limited class right now with a small title window. You got to go run for it. And I think it's all in Brenden Allen's opportunity to do so. So big win by Brenden Allen. Submission win cashed at a plus 225 ticket right there. You love to see it. Now, AJ, this was your prop lock, and you came close right here, but you got to give some respect to Jake Matthews, man. Very formidable, very experienced, and I was actually really surprised, man, because I think Michael Morales is better than we think he is, AJ. Jake Matthews, let's not forget, this dude, before he turned into the boxer, he was all about shooting in for takedowns. There was no takedowns to be found, not against Michael Morales, and I think there's too much danger that comes with a failed takedown attempt. So how impressed were you with the poise, the patience, I mean, really just the calmness of a Michael Morales 3-round clinic? What'd you think?
Not even breaking a sweat until about the third round, maybe even a little closer to the end of the second. But man, the way Michael Morales, I think what impressed me most, we know he has the power, we know he has a technique, and he knows how to cut an angle to get away from danger. But also when you're able to outspeed Jake Matthews right there. Because, like you said, Derek, Jake Matthews has now found himself as that boxer, but his wrestling was kind of forefronted his success. And having that wrestling acumen with the speed that he has and able to blitz in and shoot and then especially pop that jab out there, that's where Jake Matthews has found a lot of that success until Michael Morales came back. You want to set some speed? I'm going to show you. He looked really, really crisp out there. But like you said, Derek, what I liked most is the way he was calm about it, thinking about it, seeing the calculations, and also reading. Every time he get hit with the left check left hook, he was reading it. He was seeing it. And then out of nowhere, it started, or I guess as the fight progressed, it started to be less and less prevalent. And really, he started to not really run away with the fight, but show how secure he felt in that octagon, Derek. What was the most impressive part about Morales' performance on the same end, Matthews as well?
It's really the poise for Michael Morales, man. The patience, and it's almost too patient to a fault because his corner's over there telling him, hey, bro, you need to wake up. And he's like, bro, I'm winning this fight easily. I'm up 2 rounds. What do you mean I need to wake up? But I think it was more of, you need to wake up. Let's bring a little more aggression out, and let's get this guy out of here. Why are you playing around with the decision? You never know, and you can get caught at any moment in a fight, man. Why sit there and just act like I got the fight in the bag? Let's go for the kill. And I think that's the only thing missing. But then we started to see it, and when he started to do it, the openings popped up, and Matthew started to connect more. So I think it's just 24 years old, man. This guy is going to be a star. I really think Michael Morales is going to be a star, cut from a different cloth. I believe he's Ecuadorian, right? So it's definitely a big market that he could tap into. But for Jake Matthews, man, I mean, I was impressed by the footwork, the angles, and all that good stuff, but I wasn't impressed by the game plan because I thought that best path to victory was you got to take this guy down. You know he's headhunting for that right hand. It's 1-2 over the top, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Time it, try not to get caught by the knee, double, get him on his back, and then try to win the fight there. So was it a lack of a game plan, AJ, or is Michael Morales just that good? Just in a sentence.
I think Michael Morales is that good. Well, although honestly, we didn't see Jake Matthews even shoot once. And even when Michael Morales did, he backed up, defended the takedown, didn't want any part of that ground game. And I wonder why. So I'm thinking game plan at the moment.
Yeah, technically, Jake Matthews is credited for one takedown attempt and, of course, did not land it. So, I mean, maybe we got one in there that he snuck in there. But, yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the breakdown, though, the value for the props that we were taking a look at, just the money line overall. When you look at Michael Morales, he closed as a favorite. I think it was a pretty clear choice for the victory right here. When you were taking a look at the props, AJ, and all love, brother, but you know, on fight day, you have some juice in your pocket. You see some lines. You start making some decisions. I started to think more and more about that plus 250 decision prop for Michael Morales, and I ended up cashing in on that one before the fight. You just have to think the only difference between a Michael Morales who knocks out everybody, right, is that when you have a veteran who might not get the victory, they might just be durable enough to stick around, man. So just kind of thought process behind that, and let's keep it pushing to the next.
100%, Derek, you're right, man. And honestly, folks, since we didn't do a pre-show, that was going to be one of my preferences to this one. This entire card was hard to choose a prop fight on. So this one, to me, seemed the most logical. But you're right, Derek. When you're faced with a veteran who knows what you're best at and able to avoid those things, a decision doesn't seem out of reach.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got to give it to Jake Matthews for the durability, but a big win for a Michael Morales. Now, this next one, AJ, man, Chase Hooper, bro, this dude is the magic kid right here. He's putting it on, growing before our eyes. And when there was one guy that, at least in my opinion, I said plus 180, underdog money, or I guess I should say underdog price, does everything that Chase Hooper does just as good, if not better. Plus, he's better on the feet. I thought this was Jordan Leavitt's fight in the bag, man. I thought that we were going to run away, put the Scullies on and say, give me the loot. Like, I thought that's what type of fight this was. Little did we know he would engage absolutely in the best places that Chase Hooper, is in fighting, which is grappling and jiu-jitsu scrambles all day long. Scrambled until he got choked. And it was a beautiful series of transitions, folks. There's like Twitter threads out there if you want to go take a look of people breaking it down. It's absolutely beautiful jiu-jitsu. But game plan-wise, AJ, do you think that this win, which will not take away anything from Chase Hooper, is as credited as it should be, given that we haven't seen him fight a pure MMA fight against a big, strong, talented guy yet?
No, I don't think it's as credited as it could be, because I expected Jordan Leavitt to come in there, try and avoid the ground game as much as possible. Sure, get in the mix when you have to, because Chase Hooper's going to want to put the fight there, but be able to avoid that, stay at distance, and really start working your hands, because we've seen Jordan Leavitt have a better acumen on the feet than Chase Hooper. But what I think surprised me most about Chase Hooper, he came in looking like he grew 6 years. Like, he came in looking like a big dog finally, instead of little, the skinny, frail Chase Hooper we saw at 145. Homeboy is growing into his frame. We're going to see this kid at 170 pounds here in the next 5 years. But now, while he's at 155, bro, this dude looked devastating in there. And I think that right there probably had Jordan Leavitt a little bit worried. He walked in expecting to be a little bit bigger, fill it out the frame a little bit more. You see a big guy that you didn't expect standing against a cage on you, and it's little Chase Hooper. Like, the mind game might be playing a little bit. So maybe that's why he didn't want to partake in the fist fight. That's why he thought, maybe I'm just going to be where more comfortable I am, and maybe I'll win this fight that way. I don't think it was a smart game plan at all, though, Derek.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say, because I don't really think it was a size issue. I just think it was you fell into the trap of playing his game, which you shouldn't have, because right before Chase Hooper finished the fight, Chase Hooper got cracked with a big shot from postured up, open guard, just leveled him right there, gave him a good one, and then looks like that woke Chase Hooper up and said, all right, man, let's go for the kill. But I thought that what I want to see, and like I said, not taking anything away from Chase Hooper, because this was a fantastic victory. Like, I was sitting there like jaw dropped, like, oh, okay, Hooper's for real. All right, right? But what I want to see is somebody who is a sprawl and brawl fighter, who will not engage in the grappling and simply say, we're here for an MMA fight. Let's make it a kickboxing fight, and let's see who can go toe-to-toe. Because the last fight that he got the victory on, right, it was against a jiu-jitsu guy, right? So here, let's just go take a look at the resume of a Chase Hooper really quickly and just kind of see where this brings us. So for Chase Hooper, He got that victory. Okay, yeah, Nick Fiore, right, who I do believe got cut from the UFC. Jiu-jitsu guy, right, not great stand-up, so it was really just grapple or die in that fight. You basically made the same fight right here, had a grappling fight against Clay Guida, and then Steve Garcia, yeah, you got knocked out. Felipe Colares, that's another jiu-jitsu guy, does have some sick striking, though, so I believe also RIP for Felipe. But then Steven Peterson, Alex Caceres, the guys who are like, I'm not going to engage, but I'm going to sit here, I'm going to defend all these takedowns, and then let's get into it. Haven't seen the victory yet. So that's still what I'm looking for. Am I asking for too much, AJ, or was that just a well-done performance?
No, man, you're not asking for too much, because you go and look at some of the guys that are above Chase Hooper in the 155-pound division, man, the Jalen Turners of the world, even the Renato Moicanos. Like, there's a lot of people, the Drew Dobers, there are a lot of people that are willing to be able to fight that kind of sprawl and brawl kind of fight that have some serious power and some serious chins behind them. Like this, there's a lot of, man, I'm even looking at, Joel Alvarez. Like, there's some serious talent in this division that's going to present quite a big problem. So I want to see exactly what you're talking about, Derick, in that the sprawl and the brawl, or keeping it on the hands, just to see how much Chase Hooper can progress his own fight game.
Yeah, understood. But there was really not much else to say on this fight other than Chase Hooper, my Lord, growing before our eyes. You'd love to see it with the submission victory over Jordan Leavitt. Big time victory right there. And going to this one, a lot of people were sweating this one. Peyton Talbott, he ended up closing a little over like minus 700, but that's still a ridiculous price to pay when you have a first round the way that he did, man. So Nick Aguirre, right, he comes in and he just kind of smothers Talbott and said, we're here to wrestle, bro. I'm D2. Let's get it. Talbott accepted the back foot, accepted getting taken down, and just kind of had to work. And a lot of people were sweating it. And this is another one, folks, where, of course, this was chalk. You're going to take the Talbott pick. When you go down to live odds after the first round and Talbott goes from a minus 700 favorite to a minus 130 favorite, you cash in all day. So that's what the smart bettors are doing right there. AJ, were you at all concerned or maybe regretting your pick after you saw that first round?
Not really, Derick, because I knew the kind of style that a fighter that Aguirre is, he's going to be looking for that kind of stuff, but he's probably also going to get a little tired and going to find himself in positions he doesn't really like. So that's where I was not too concerned, but at least at the end of the first round. But in that middle of that first round, yeah, I was a little worried, especially for the newcomer. We've seen the lights be too bright for Talbott, or for at least debut fighters like Talbott was. Having that kind of performance, especially having the resistance in the beginning, could play a big mind game. Homeboy looked good, though. I got to give it to the kid. He looked very calm in that actual performance, and having to go against some adversity, looked good, pulled it out. We'll see. Derick, what do you think?
I thought it was a good fight, man, and you're right. This is a fight he was expected to have a victory over, and if you look at the numbers, man, I mean, at the end of the day, 2 of 10 for takedowns for Aguirre, so it's just a matter of sprawl and brawl. I'm not going to let you fight that fight. We're going to stand up, and I'm going to break you, and he did. 3rd round victory, right? You love to see that. When you take a look at it, though, man, it's just, not a lot happened, and this is another one of those, not a standout performance, not even really a showcase performance, which maybe it should have been, but I think an impressive victory nonetheless. What's the cap here for Peyton Talbott, man? This dude was good on the Dana White Contender Series, a little bit of a eccentric personality, but some sick striking, you know what I mean? I just think that the expectations were way too high given that his price was at minus 900 something at one point. What do you think?
No, I also think some people are just looking a little too high to the stars for this kid. And don't get me wrong, the potential's there. The striking's fluid. He sees stuff. He moves very, very nicely. He hits hard. But what happens when the fight gets to the ground and you don't hurt your opponent like you did in the Aguirre fight, where we saw it, man. Talbott cracked Aguirre, and Aguirre's looked like, I don't want any more of this. I'm just going to try to avoid the striking at all costs. What happens when that doesn't happen? I do think what I like the most about Talbott is his mindset, where he's like, I'm just trying to find the kind of fighter I am that I can grow into, and then I'm going to be hunting the belt later on. I'm not worried about championships right now, so that bodes very well for him. But as far as ceiling, at least in the next 3 years, I think we're just going to see this kid really start to kind of take that slower approach, really grind his way through these fighters, figure out who he does best against, figure out who he does worse against, and then maybe we'll see him in the future. This could be a very sleeper section oriented fighter, if you will. We might see this guy in the future, but what do you think, Derick? What's the ceiling for Talbott?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's tough because the personality reminds me of somebody, and I can't put my finger on it, but he reminds me of somebody who is like another fighter that is very in that same cloth of, very, not even Bushido style, bro. This is just a selfless, that he got that tattoo. It's the circle dot on the front of his belly and on his back. I guess that represents an internal void. So it's like, oh, my man is deep. Like, all right, this is a thinking fighter right here. That's the thing that I'm thinking about, is that how far can you go as a thinking fighter? Because sometimes that's the downfall, right? You get too much in your head in between rounds, right? But I think he woke up after that first round. Big win by Peyton Talbott. I think this was the one that everyone expected him to win. So let's see him against a little bit of a closer line. You know what I mean? Minus 200 type situation instead. Either way, fantastic victory. But AJ, the performance of the night, man, the story of this entire night has to be Amanda Ribas. I'm sorry. I don't think it matters who you were betting for or whatnot. There's one comeback victory that was knocking everybody's socks off, and it was this one. So a little bit of heat behind this one, kind of, I guess. I guess these two were roommates at one point. I guess they know a little bit about each other. And AJ, that's kind of the point. When you know somebody's actual lifestyle, right? You lived with them. You know it's a different monster that you're fighting. So you might know their tendencies, you might know what they're good at, what they're bad at. And it looks like some of that gamesmanship happened in the fight. So Pinheiro probably said, Ribas, she gets hit a lot. I'm coming out guns blazing. And brother, AJ, I know you must have been feeling good after that first round, because Pinheiro had Ribas lumped up, looking like, all right, it's almost a matter of time until she's out of here. But guess what, man? When you got a fighter who don't say quit, who doesn't stop, it doesn't end there. You got to kill him to get him out of there. Pinheiro wasn't able to do it. What'd you think about this comeback victory, TKO round 3, Amanda Ribas?
Folks, if you know nothing about me, or if you know a little bit of anything, you know that I am an absolute massive Ribas fan. So it took a soul piece, a little bit chunk out of me to bet against Pinheiro, or to bet for Pinheiro. But man, the performance that Ribas had reinstilled everybody's faith that she is one of the best, most entertaining fighters out there. Sure, she may not be like, top quality skill level, but she is top quality entertainment all day long. Gonna never say die, no matter how much she's bleeding, no matter how much she's lumped up after the first round. She believes in herself fully and always fights like she's going to get the finish, which I love absolutely most in Amanda Ribas. But what I think did it for me in this one, man, once she saw that Pinheiro dumped her gas tank and she's in there getting in the mix. Now the punches are hurting a little less, land a little slower, a little bit more labored. You're cutting around, dancing circles while staying moving, and your opponent's sitting there gasping for breath. Amanda Ribas had that killer instinct of like, okay, now it's time to shine. Now it's time to put it on. Man, very, very impressive fight. I can't say enough about Amanda Ribas. I'm interested to see how Pinheiro takes this loss, especially from an associate in the past. This is going to be interesting to see where she goes too.
I think Pinheiro wins this fight if she just had a little bit of a deeper gas tank. I think she wins this fight completely. And the reason why is because she was doing everything to mitigate Ribas' style. So she was landing the same combination, right? It was a right down the pipe, or kind of like a right hook, left hook combo, but kind of right cross down the pipe. Either way, right? Same 1-2 that she was landing over and over and over again. She was sidestepping, so using that lateral movement to stop the forward progression of Amanda Ribas. Ribas was following instead of cutting off. So it's like the game plan was there. It's just, can you do it for 15 minutes when you got somebody who is in your face no matter how hard you hit them? That's the key right there, is Ribas has got that, I'm going to walk you down and you either knock me out or I'm going to finish you mentality, and I think that's what won her the fight. So, AJ, let's dissect really quickly in this matchup. One thing that I find really interesting is if you look at Amanda Ribas' career, the reason that I backed her for this fight, even though I thought the price was a little much, right? She was like minus 240, minus 250 at close, so I thought that was a little steep. Look at these losses. Aside from the Marina Rodriguez double knockout, right? Aside from that one, who she's one of the hardest hitters at 115, the only other 2 losses that she's had have come against flyweights, man. Macy Barber, notable size discrepancy and power discrepancy. Caitlin Chikagian, the blonde fighter, and it was a split on points. Come on. That automatically goes to the blonde fighter almost, you know what I mean? So if you look at the other victories, man, Vina Jandiroba, how impressive is that? Viviane Araujo, and now Luana Pinheiro. I mean, listen, Pinheiro was above her in the rankings, so it's something that you got to definitely, you can't take away from her. Is this fight style, though, AJ, sustainable to continue her trajectory up at 115 pounds? Because she's still entertaining, saying opportunity jumps at 125, I'm right back up there. So what do you think?
At 115 pounds, yes, this fight style is very much a successful and durable. You can last a little long time, especially because the girls aren't hitting as hard. But at 125, you pointed out yourself, Derek, those are the fighters she's losing most against of. And why it happens is because she's not changing the style of fighter she is, which you got to respect. You know, you do what you get you to the dance, but you weren't getting to that dance at 125. You're doing it at 115, so maybe stay there. I like her, though, man. This is the kind of fight I like to see. The never quit, always pressure, even no matter where it ends up, whether it's on the ground or on the feet, still a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And let's look at these round-by-round numbers, man. So Pinheiro in the red, Ribas in the blue. I mean, Ribas outlanded her every single round, but if you look at the fight, you would think that Pinheiro was just knocking around like a bowling ball all over the place, man. So when it comes down to Pinheiro, just looking forward and saying, all right, she's going to learn from this loss. We're going to see her move forward. This is her style of fight, right? A stand and bang, let's fight to the death type fight. Are these numbers that will win her fights? Landed 25 in the first, 18 in the second, 12 in the third. Like, are those numbers that are going to get her to where she needs to be in the top 10 of this division?
I want to say instantly no right off the bat, right? And like, no, those aren't the numbers that are going to get her there. Unless those are the kind of numbers where she's putting serious damage, hurting her opponents. And what may be doing it is if a lot of them are more like how round one went, where she's outstriking, outlanding, and your opponent has less output. But if you're going to have slower output or lower output, I should say, you also need to make sure you're doing the damage that allows your opponent not to be able to come back and have damage as well.
Yeah, and you're right, man. That first round outlanded her, out-hurt her, outpowered her, out-everything her right there. So big win by Amanda Ribas. Nothing else to say but beautiful spinning kick victory to just kind of get everything closed out right there. Who would have bet that plus 1,400 TKO for Ribas? But whoever did, big money. That's why we were smart, and we just said, let's take the over 2.5 rounds, and still got the finish. I mean, come on, man. And to kick us off, man, to open up the card, short notice bout, the doctor, Uros Medic versus Myktybek Orolbai. AJ, this dude right here, I've been following him a little bit before, obviously making this debut. This dude's good, man. People are clowning on him. He's a meme online right now, but you can't meme his fight style because this dude fighting out a Team Alpha Male is a real problem for all of these guys. AJ, he wins a regional championship, right? Let me see. Let me pull something up right here, man. He wins the regional championship. Let's pull up my man, Orolbai. All right. We need to dissect this. Here it is. All right. So this is when he wins the championship. Let me see. One of these fights right here. Well, he's fighting at welterweight. This is kind of the point, right? Doing this thing in these regional promotions, welterweight, knocking people out, decision victory, all that good stuff. 4 days notice, they say Uros Medic needs an opponent. Are you stepping in? He says, absolutely, right? He gets the job done and all that good stuff. But the point that I'm making here, this dude said, hey, 155 pounds, that's where I'm fighting in the UFC. He went 6-0 at 170 pounds, but all of this here before, this is all 155. So how impressive is it, AJ, like legitimately thinking back on it? 4 days notice. Yeah, 170. You've been kind of docking around there for the past year or two or whatever the case may be. But, bro, he fought a 6-foot, 170-pound Uros Medic, like one of the biggest frame guys, and made light work of it on 4 days' notice. Like, I'm not trying to overhype my man, but I feel like that's a very impressive feat, given that when Jalen Turner beat Uros Medic, I believe it was an upset victory right there. So, trajectory-wise, what are we thinking?
It's hard to say, man, because I was looking at Orolbai's last fight, man. When I was watching this just for the once he got on, the actual card, once they confirmed it, really started taking a look, and in that performance, he looked a little slower, looked a little bit labored, looked a little bit not as fast as I was expecting somebody to see, but he did have a big right hand, big power in there, and so there's promises that he can come in, and then when he gets to this fight against Uros Medic, all that goes out the door, and he looked like he stepped up to the plate, like he literally jumped a level above what he used to fight at. And it makes it interesting, man, because Uros Medic, like you said, man, he's fighting at 170, but drops it down to 155 to actually fight where he feels comfortable. That speed's going to be there. The power's still going to be there. Now I'm curious to see how well equipped they have him at Team Alpha Male for his actual performances in the UFC, because there's going to be more well-rounded people. Mm-hmm. But, if all indicators are going right, this guy has everything necessary to be a serious contender in this division. I'm interested to see, man. I don't know where the skill is. I don't know where the ceiling cap is or where we can see him going at all, because we need to see a little bit more. but he has all the promise for sure. What do you think?
This is not as ready, but this is an Islam Makhachev. This is a Habib right here. This is a dude who can hurt you on the feet, whose real repertoire isn't really grappling, man. It's really more about his striking, but you see he laces the legs when he takes you down, constant takedowns, up, down, and that's that team alpha male, in my opinion. That's what that is right there. But more important, man, I just think that when you're able to take out a guy with the frame of Uros Medic, what are you going to be able to do against the much smaller guys at 155? And I'll agree with some of what you said. When I was watching film on Orolbai, part of my concern was the strength of schedule. That was a little concerning for me. I was like, all right, you're beating these guys, but they don't really look, and you know what I mean? Like, Medic is a different guy than these other guys that you fought. But it was the same situation, man. You take a guy who's really good at something, and then you fight him where he's not good, and you win. And this was a clinic. And you don't even choke him, man. You just say, I'm going to break your jaw with a neck crank, and then he just finishes Medic right there. So big win by Orolbai. I think that a full camp, 155 pounds, this dude's going to be a real problem. I'm really interested to see who they're going to match him up against. But I think that resume-wise, UFC debut, 4 days notice, Uros Medic. I'm sorry. I'm going to hype that up all day long because I feel like nobody is, and this is like a slept-on feat. But when you see this guy making real waves in a year or two, maybe 3, yeah, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, remember when he stepped in short notice? Oh, yeah, that's right. This guy is a savage. So big win by Myktybek Orolbai, fighting out of Kyrgyzstan. AJ, shout out to that right there. But with that being said, that is the main card breakdown, folks. So let us jump ourselves into a quick little prelim and just kind of talk a little bit about some of the other fights that took place over the weekend. So let's pull it up, AJ. Trey Ogden, Nicholas Mota. AJ, what was your perception? If you had to explain it out to the people, what was your perception of what took place?
Man, it's hard. It's hard being a judge is my perception on this one, or a referee, excuse me, on this one, because all signs are pointing to that Nicholas Mota is going to sleep, right? All signs are pointing to that he's been beat up for about 15 minutes, hands up, choking. You're giving him a bunch of commands to show that you're okay. He does nothing, doesn't move an arm, doesn't press, doesn't give a thumbs up, nothing, doesn't seem like he's there. What does get me a little bit, though, and this is just from a performance standpoint, personal training aspect that I do on the side, his right quad or his right glutes, they're firing. He's trying to press, he's trying to roll, so there's stuff there. So he's not asleep. His body would go slump if he was sleeping. So it's a little questionable, Derick. What do you think? As a jiu-jitsu practitioner yourself, what do you think on this one?
This is a tough one, man, because if you're Nicholas Mota, you're literally stuck in a rock and a hard place because a couple of things working against you. One, language barrier, right? Let's not forget my man is Brazilian. Number two, when you're in this head and arm triangle, your opponent is passed. So if you're looking at the screen right here, you'll see Trey Ogden. He's already passed over. He's got his leg right here so that he could stop Mota from bringing his hips in to alleviate the pressure, and he's just forcing that arm in. So if you're Mike Beltran, you're saying, hey, show me something. Give me a thumbs up. You're too focused not getting choked to try to, sit here and be like, oh, hey, bro, I'm good. I'm trying not to get choked right now. This hand is pivotal right here. This right hand of Nicholas Mota. It's pushing up on the lat of a Trey Ogden to alleviate the pressure to get a little spot to breathe so you don't get choked right there. So if he says, oh, let me, instead of pushing full force to create that space, give you a thumbs up, get my hand pushed back, and now the choke is cinched and now I'm done. Instead of doing that, what do you do, AJ? What do you do in a spot like this? You just say, I'm just going to defend the choke, and I'm good. And you knew he was good because the moment that the choke was let go of, he just stood back. He stood up. And he was like, bro, I was good. I was fighting that. So that's my perspective right there. Is that a fair analysis, or do you think that Mike Beltran had every right to say, listen, bro, I did ask you 3-4 times, show me something. You didn't show me anything.
No, I think you have the probably one of the most fair analysis because and I think that's why they made this one a no contest as unfair to Trey Ogden as that is, having him no outcome, not getting paid, winning that fight hands down. I'm sure Dana White will do the right thing, but you're right. There's not much Nicholas Mota can do. You can't even do like a thumbs up with a hand that's over his head because there's nothing going on there, and you can't be saying like I'm good because you're getting choked. There's a lot of happening. I think this is just a rough one. And this is one of those ones where it's a blood choke, right? So you could just go to sleep. Just take a little nap. It's all good. No, no real harm, no foul. But the question is, how long has he already been asleep? That really starts to become the problem. How much blood has already not gone to the head. But I don't know. This is one of those ones I feel bad for everybody involved, even the referee, man.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, man. This is like one of my favorite positions to do, head and arm chokes, right? So when you get to that arm triangle right there, there's tough guys, man. A lot of these guys can, just like Nicholas Mota is, a lot of these guys can fight out of those ones. But yeah, let's talk about the other side, man. I hope Dana White does the right thing because Trey Ogden got screwed. Because if you look at it, out of anything, how do you end in this position? You're over the 2.5 round mark in a 15-minute fight, and it gets declared a no contest. If anything, this should be a technical decision, right? The referee messed up, but who was winning on the scorecards at that point? It was clearly Trey Ogden. Upset of the century right here because this dude closed at plus 150, plus 180, something like that. And submission round 3, the bettors who had that one too, you get nothing. Everyone gets nothing. We all got screwed out of this one. So you got to feel for Trey Ogden. They need to do right by this man. I don't want to see a rematch here because that's unnecessary. I think this is a victory that should be placed on Trey Ogden's record. So that's what I have to say on that one. I think it's a very interesting situation that we have found ourselves upon. But, I mean, you show anybody, hey, out of this situation, if the fight got finished, who do you think ended up winning the fight, even though there was no submission called? Everybody would say, oh, the guy on top, the guy choking the other man. He'd probably be the victor. So there's that. But, AJ, that is not where we finish right here, man, because we got to jump back to the other fight that I was talking about. Joe Anderson Brito versus Jonathan Pierce. You know JSP is my boy, man. You know, big fan. I think that guy's going to do big things. But there is, as they say on the internet, when keeping it real goes wrong, AJ. It happens sometimes. It happens. So let's break this one down. Jonathan Pierce, right? And I don't have no fancy graphic to show you guys, but in this fight, Joe Anderson Brito, Jonathan Pierce, this was a grappling match, exactly the way that we thought about, right? The only problem is, man, JSP and his smothering nature takes down Brito. Brito starts hitting him in the back of the head. He's like, hey, sorry, bro. He's like, hey, referees hit me in the back of the head. Brito's underneath him, like, blah, blah, blah. You see that? Did you see that, bro? He's just like, it's like, I don't even know what that was. I wish I could post a clip here, folks. If they wouldn't take it down, I'd post a clip. But he's underneath him, don't speak English. And he's like, don't worry about it, bro. So it's like, first off, what's happening? But AJ, you tell the man, get up and do something then, bro. You over here complaining, get up and do something. Get off of your back. And then he gets up and ninja chokes you immediately and makes you tap out. Like first off, fuck around and find out. You know what I'm saying? There we go.
Get up and do something, boy. Come on, get up and do something.
Got some good trash
Get up
talk.
and do something.
Stand up, get that leg up now. He should be out, but we'll see how good Jonathan Pierce is here. Not a guillotine attempt. He's on the ninja choke. That's it. That is it.
Incredible. Wow.
Wow. Oh my
Takes his pants off.
And his balls
What
is
is
hot.
happening here today?
Listen, man, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, like, meme of the century. AJ, you with me?
Absolutely. I also forgot he took his pants off after all that stuff too, man. Meme of the century. That is a massive win for Joe Anderson Brito.
Yeah. So yeah, all right. Let's move on, man, because I'm just going to sit here laughing the entire time. All right, what else do we have? Oh, okay, this is another big one, man. Christian Leroy Duncan, man, CLD, double elbows for the knockout out of UFC 5 right there. My man hit Dennis Tululin, who's a very formidable Russian opponent, walk you down, and he says, you're not going to give me space? Well, let me press some action. Hit him with the doom, and the next one, dropped him, finished it. Beautiful display, highlight finish like we're used to seeing with CLD. What'd you think about it?
This was a very impressive performance by CLD that unfortunately for him got outshadowed by a lot of the other fights out there, a lot of the other finishes. Because if this was one of the few, I mean, we're looking great. We're talking CLD all day long. And yeah, was it performance? Was it impressive? Yeah, but having Dennis Tuolwin just kind of not necessarily set himself up for it, but play into the factor just showed how good CLD is. Seeing those things and actually executing them, very impressive nonetheless.
And give it up for Tululin. Short notice fight, you know what I mean? My man came in, said, I want to win. I'll take it on short notice, and things happen, right? But he was outshadowed, AJ, and by Jeka Saragih, he definitely outshadowed him. So my sleeper, folks, I told y'all, don't sleep on Lucas Alexander versus Jeka, because I thought that this was just going to be a fun fight while it lasted. Not going to lie to you, I threw Alexander in a ton of parlays because I thought that this was going to be inevitable, and it looked like it. And it looked like it probably still would have been if you learned how to do a technical stand-up and don't stand up and get caught, right? So in jiu-jitsu, it's like day one, they teach you when you stand up, hand planted as you're supposed to start getting up, up, hand in front of you to create space and avoid getting punched in your face or tackled or anything like that. But instead, a scramble happens, you just stand straight up, you get caught, and that's what happens. And Jeka has now found his career trajectory gone to a completely different astronomical place, because you're from the road to the UFC, Indonesian fighter coming to the UFC, knock out a dude I think the TKO for Jeka was like a plus 1,800 or something crazy. Like, it was something ridiculous. Like, bettors got a steal on that one if you went for him. So fantastic victory. Probably like the biggest knockout of the night, would you say?
Absolutely, Derick, especially early in the cards, I should say. You had a little bit of contention. You had some decisions prior to you. You come in with a star-studded knockout like that, everybody's hyped.
That's it. And all right, so not to linger too long, because, we don't want to run too long, but there's one more story that I wanted to talk about, and it was Ailin Perez versus Lucy Pudilova. And this is one of those weird ones where didn't even really want to talk about the victory, even though it was an impressive victory. Perez pulled it out, but she came in with a pre-existing cut underneath her left eye, and that's the thing that we kind of need to talk about here today. So Pudilova did a good job kind of capitalizing on that, countering some of the aggression later on in the fight, and making it a close one up to the bell, because Perez was pretty much putting it on her for the first couple of rounds. But let's talk about it, AJ. So yes, Ailin Perez involved in a wild fight week brawl at the Performance Institute. Jocelyn Edwards choked out by male coach, and it's like, hold on, what just happened here? And that, yeah, you see the shiner on Perez right there. That's what I'm talking about. Got opened up, but you could see there's like stitches, dude, still on her eye. So that's one of the questions. How is Ailin Perez allowed to fight by the Nevada State Athletic Commission with stitches in her eyes? I mean, I feel like that's a little unsafe. AJ, what do you think?
I feel like that's should be probably the biggest question going forward for how in the world, because obviously she doesn't have to disclose it. You can see it on her eye right there. Those are live stitches. I don't know how this got past the medical clearance or athletic commission or anything. It's interesting. I'm sure they did some poke tests, make sure it wasn't bleeding on its own. But it's a live cut with legitimate stitches. It's very interesting. And then how this whole thing unfolds is even crazier.
Exactly. So let's just kind of talk about it a little bit, man. I'm going to summarize this. I'm not going to read a block of text to you guys, but there's a bunch of different conflicting stories. This is kind of the point. And I want to know your perspective, AJ, because this is just, I don't think that you need to be a fighter to have opinion on this, and I think this just goes to what's right and what's wrong, right? So maybe there's a little bit of beef between Jocelyn Edwards and Ailin Perez, right? Maybe they're at the PI where there's octagons and this is your gym setting and you say, what's up? You got a problem? Like, let's settle this right now. Maybe the coach was the one instigating the situation from the jump, trying to get these two fighters to fight, right? And maybe somebody sucker punched somebody. I don't know, and it's really unclear. Like, was it Jocelyn Edwards that just sucker punched Ailin Perez, and then Perez's coach jumped on her and choked her? And I don't know, but this is what's interesting. So there's all of these different perspectives. And then let me see. Alex Davis, MMA manager Alex Davis right here. He gives an interesting story. So this is the guy, Javier Zarbal. Apologies, I know I butchered that crucially, but just this is the point. That's the guy who was choking, right? So this is what Alex Davis says. I was sitting on the large octagon inside the PI looking at my phone when I heard yelling to my right. When I approached the cage, I saw Ailin and her coach on top of Jocelyn, so I jumped in to break the fight. When I went to help out and saw the male coach choking Jocelyn with a rear naked choke, it was very deep. He was cranking on the choke. If the choke was held on for much longer, it would have been a terrible scene, which goes to show when you choke somebody and they're pretty much asleep, you don't need to continue choking them. That's where problems happen. I'm not sure if she was fully conscious or fully unconscious, but she was close. So I'm not sure if she was fully unconscious, but she was close. When I got the coach off of Jocelyn, the coach was ranting and yelling, trying to continue the fight. I was trying to calm Jocelyn down because she thought she was still fighting. So she probably did get slept. You know what I mean? Because you wake up and you're still in fight or flight mode. And whoever's in front of you, you're doing something. So the whole entire point of this debacle here, AJ, is that you have a male coach who is trying to protect his fighter or instigate something with his fighter. And even if it's a defense situation, you rear naked choke a female. It doesn't matter if she's a fighter, she is a woman, right? You rear naked choke her, put her pretty much to sleep. This is a problem. This is problematic. You can't just do that, right? Like, there's a difference between I'm going to constrain you and I'm going to hold you and I'm going to put the rear naked and I'm not going to actually choke you to sleep. And there's a difference between that and being macho ego. I'm so tough. Let me choke this woman out. Like, I don't know. I feel like something's not right here. What do you think?
100% agree with you, Derek. If chaos is going down, especially as a coach, you're thinking, I got to get my fighter to her actual performance. I got to get her there safe as possible. Things are going down. Let me jump in there, break it up. But if you're willing to lay hands on a female and willing to choke a female out, especially what got me was the comment by the third party, Amanda Hebus' coach, where he says he was cranking on it. He was cranking on the choke. That right there tells me you're just a piece of shit. Because you're jumping in to stop somebody. You want to hold them there. It's especially being a man. You have the strength advantage to just hold a girl in a rear naked choke. You do not need to put any extra force into it. I get it. You're a little animated. She just maybe attacked your fighter. Maybe there's some back and forth, so you saw it coming. Hopefully not, because then that just tells me it's a little premeditated. Yeah. I don't like this at all, man. Nonetheless, fighting somebody the week of their fight to hopefully not, or maybe possibly have them not win any money, have them all that going forward. I don't like this one bit. I mean, yeah, I get it. Shit happens. You got to start swinging on some people when it goes down, but I don't like this one bit. What about you, Derek?
Yeah, no, it's rough. And then as you can see, Chris Curtis gives his take right there. And he was kind of talking about it a little bit. Yeah, he was kind of talking about it a little bit and just kind of saying, let me see, there was a little, I was taking a look at this. No, I don't know. I lost it. It was somewhere, but he was kind of having a little back and forth talking about it and talk shit. Oh yeah, talk shit, get hit. That's the extreme couture way. Okay, here we go. Eileen Perez said she was assaulted, right? Basically, Chris Curtis is like, hey, listen, he's going to get him. But initially, it was like, hey, talk shit, get hit. I see nothing wrong with that, right? So at the end of the day, man, I mean, some philosophy to be had here. But that was something right there, AJ. And let's conclude that prelim pour-over with that. And since we're running out of time, let's jump into a quick rankings review right here. Lots of drama, but you know where there's not a ton of drama? In some of these divisions that we need to unpack here, AJ. So really quickly, let me just go ahead and get the rankings pulled up. And today, I think it's pretty simple. Who we need to be talking about is the middleweight division, man. It's Brenden Allen's division right here. So, AJ, let's see what we got. We talked about it a little bit earlier. We already mentioned, okay, Brenden Allen at 10 for the UFC official rankings. You have a Khamzat Chimaev at 8, Roman Dolidze at 7, Paulo Costa at 6, and then Dricus du Plessis at 2. And we had kind of already spoken about how that's kind of the guys that we envision being able to do what Brenden Allen does and who's probably able to give Brenden Allen a little bit of a problem. Do you anticipate after a victory as big as the one that he just got right here against Paul Craig, who is ranked... There we go. Ranked at 13, right? Doesn't really do much for Brenden Allen. Does he actually crack this, upper 9 right here? Or do they just keep him where he's at and be like, all right, good win? Or does he take Jack Hermansson's spot? I don't know. What do you think?
I was thinking, if anything, I see him taking Hermansson's spot. Because other than that, you got DDP fighting Sean Strickland here soon. Nobody else is really kind of in the media limelight, at least in getting anywhere. And you don't, I mean, personally, do you want to see him fight a Roman Dolidze or a Khamzat Chimaev before the hype has really built itself up? If anything, I see him fighting like the Jack Hermanssons, the Marvin Vittoris, the Cannoniers, those kind of not necessarily lower echelon, but fighters who have had hype on them and now they aren't, so it allows for Brenden Allen to really take their spot. And I think that's a little bit more cautious, if you will, in the limelight of Brenden Allen. But going forward, I mean, there's some seriously hard fights he can have that might, the Khamzat, the Roman Dolidze that you're talking about, those have potential to halter his career going forward. Do you take those fights, Derek?
It's tough, man. You got to fight somebody. Here's the thing. He already said it. Whoever they line up in front of me, we're fighting. But I want a title. I want a title eliminator. And here's the interesting part. So I think it's, Roman Dolidze, he's matched up to fight Nasruddin Imavov, right? So du Plessis is matched up. Whitaker, we're not sure what's going on with Whitaker. Cannoniers coming off of an injury. Vittori, he's like, I'll just fight somebody. Like, give me somebody. I'll beat up Alex Paeta. I don't care. Maybe he moves up. It just kind of leaves Brenden Allen in no man's land until they figure something out, because the last thing you want to do is fight behind you again. Like, you want to fight one of these guys, preferably. And I think if there is a guy to fight, I don't know who's going to be. Marvin Vittori? Like, what does Marvin Vittori have to gain out of that fight, though? He has nothing to gain, so it's a tough matchup to make. But with that being said, I mean, that's the rankings review right there, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, folks, we made it to another one. Brenden Allen, man, this dude's good. Amanda Hebus, she's good. All these fighters, they showed out. Myktybek, Orolbai, right? All these guys. But We got a week off, folks, to digest everything that happened here at UFC Vegas 82. We're going to enjoy the Thanksgiving break, as all of you should do, or whatever holidays you end up celebrating. Even if it's just I'm going to chill at home and do my thing, go ahead and do that. But we wish you nothing but love here from the Bloody Water Podcast. And AJ, take us out of here before we take our hiatus for about a week.
Happy to be here doing it with you folks. And like Derick said, we're gonna be gone a week. So go enjoy yourself, go stuff yourself, eat some food, share some time with your loved ones. But most importantly, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we're gonna be back the week after to put some cash in your pockets. We got fun fights for the rest of the year and a very, very close head-to-head fight that Derick and I are participating in. But all that means is whoever you're backing, you're going to be putting some cash in your pockets, spending it with your loved ones. That's why we're here, folks. We're doing it not only for you, not only for us, but for the entire MMA scene. And that's why we're your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. Make sure you hit subscribe, share with your friends. We'll see y'all in a couple weeks.
Catch you on the flip side, folks. That is it for us. Until next time. Peace.